Most people don't fail because they lack ambition. They don't fail because they lack intelligence. They fail quietly, slowly, because they live their lives on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, chasing urgency instead of meaning, winning battles while losing direction. And one day they wake up tired, not from effort, but from living a life that doesn't feel aligned. This book is not about quick success. It's not about hacks, shortcuts, or motivation that fades by tomorrow. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is about something far deeper. It's about principles that don't change, character that outlasts circumstances, and a way of living that works, whether the world is calm or chaotic. This is not a book you read once. It's a framework you live by. Everything begins with a simple but uncomfortable truth. You are responsible for your life, not your parents, not your past, not your circumstances. Responsibility, the ability to choose your response, is the foundation of effectiveness. Highly effective people don't blame, they don't complain, they don't wait. They act from values, not moods. When life happens, they pause, they think, they choose. And that choice changes everything. One of the most powerful shifts this book introduces is the idea that your life is created twice. First in your mind, then in reality. Most people skip the first creation. They drift into careers, relationships, and routines without clarity. They build lives they never consciously designed. Effective people start with the end in mind. They define what matters before they chase what's loud. They decide who they want to become before asking what they want to do. They don't let society define success for them. They write their own definition. Because when you know where you're going, decisions become easier, and distractions lose their power. Another quiet truth the book reveals is this: being busy is not the same as being effective. Urgent things shout, important things whisper. Most people spend their lives reacting to urgency, emails, notifications, pressure, expectations, while neglecting what actually moves their life forward. Effective people protect what's important. They schedule their values. They make time for growth, health, learning, planning, and relationships before life crowds them out. They understand that what you don't prioritize eventually disappears. This book also makes something painfully clear. You cannot change your life by changing techniques alone. Real change happens from the inside out. Skills without character collapse under pressure. Success without principles creates emptiness. That's why highly effective people focus on identity before results. They don't ask, "What do I do?" They ask, "Who am I becoming?" Because behavior follows belief, and belief shapes destiny. One of the most freeing ideas in the book is the shift from scarcity to abundance. Scarcity says there's not enough attention, success, money, recognition, so people compete, compare, and guard. Abundance says there's enough for everyone, so people collaborate, share, and build. Effective people don't fear other people's success. They don't feel threatened by talent. They understand that helping others grow does not diminish them. It expands the world. Relationships sit at the heart of effectiveness. And this book teaches a powerful truth most people learn too late. Seek first to understand before seeking to be understood. Most conversations are silent competitions. People listen just long enough to reply. Effective people listen to understand, not to win, not to interrupt, not to fix. They listen with empathy, with patience, with humility. And when people feel understood, resistance melts, trust grows, influence deepens. Another lesson that quietly changes everything is this: win-win is not a strategy. It's a belief. It's the belief that solutions exist where everyone benefits. When people operate from win-lose, relationships fracture. When they settle for lose-win, resentment builds. When they accept lose-lose, everyone loses. Effective people don't compromise principles, but they search relentlessly for mutual benefit. Because success that costs relationships is not success. The book also introduces a powerful idea called synergy. Synergy is the result of valuing differences instead of fearing them. Most people tolerate differences. Effective people leverage them. Different perspectives don't weaken outcomes, they strengthen them. When people feel safe to disagree, better ideas emerge. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. Another truth the book gently exposes is this: you cannot pour from an empty cup. Effectiveness requires renewal. Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Most people run themselves into exhaustion and call it dedication. Effective people sharpen the saw, they rest without guilt, they learn continuously, they reflect regularly, because long-term success demands sustainable energy. This book also challenges the obsession with quick fixes. Real effectiveness is built slowly. Habits form through consistency. Character forms through discipline. Trust forms through integrity. There are no shortcuts to becoming effective, but there is a path, and it works every time. It teaches that leadership is not a position, it's influence. And influence begins with self-leadership. Before you can manage others, you must manage yourself. Before you can inspire trust, you must be trustworthy. Private victories come before public victories. Inner alignment creates outer success. Another powerful lesson is the importance of keeping promises, especially to yourself. Broken commitments erode confidence. Kept commitments build self-trust. Effective people do what they say they will do when they say they will do it. Not because it's easy, but because integrity matters. The book also reveals that effectiveness is not about speed, it's about direction. You can climb the ladder fast, only to realize it's leaning against the wrong wall. Effective people pause to ask, is this leading where I want to go? And if not, they adjust. It highlights the danger of living by urgency alone. Urgency creates stress. Importance creates meaning. Effective people don't let other people's priorities become their prison. They choose deliberately. Another lesson is that communication is more than words. Tone, intent, listening. Trust is built not by what you say, but by how people feel after speaking with you. The book teaches that humility is strength. Arrogance closes minds. Humility opens doors. Effective people don't pretend to know everything. They remain teachable. It shows that consistency beats intensity. Small daily actions aligned with values compound into extraordinary lives. It reminds us that life is lived in roles: parent, partner, professional, friend. Effectiveness comes from honoring each role with intention, not neglecting one to succeed in another. It reinforces that clarity reduces stress. When values are clear, decisions become simpler. It teaches that self-awareness is power. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. It shows that growth requires discomfort. Old habits resist change, but comfort zones don't build character. It emphasizes that principles don't change even when circumstances do. Trends fade, values endure. It reminds us that effectiveness is not perfection. It's progress with purpose. It teaches that you don't control everything, but you always control your response. And that response defines your life. Where this book becomes truly powerful is not in what it tells you to do, but in how it changes the way you see yourself. Most people move through life believing they are products of their environment. They think their reactions are automatic, that their moods are uncontrollable, that their past has final authority. This book quietly dismantles that belief. It teaches that between what happens to you and how you respond, there is a space, and in that space lives freedom. That freedom is not loud. It doesn't announce itself, but it is the birthplace of growth. Highly effective people live in that space. They don't deny pain, they don't pretend challenges don't exist, but they refuse to surrender their power to circumstances. They act from principles, not pressure. Another deeper layer of this book is how it reframes success. Success is not just achievement, it is alignment. You can accomplish impressive things and still feel empty. You can reach goals and still feel lost. Effectiveness, as this book defines it, is when your actions match your values. When who you are in private aligns with who you present in public. When your inner life supports your outer achievements. That's why the book places so much emphasis on character. Because without character, success becomes fragile. The book also addresses a quiet crisis many people don't talk about: role confusion. People try to be everything at once: productive worker, present partner, inspiring parent, dependable friend, without clarity. They respond instead of design. Highly effective people step back and define their roles intentionally. They ask themselves, what does it mean to show up fully here? What does responsibility look like in this role? What kind of legacy am I building through my daily actions? When roles are clear, guilt decreases. When priorities are clear, stress reduces. One of the most subtle but powerful ideas in the book is that trust is emotional currency. Every interaction is either a deposit or a withdrawal. Keeping promises builds trust, breaking them drains it. Listening builds trust, dismissing builds walls. Integrity is not a dramatic act, it's a daily practice. Effective people understand that trust compounds just like habits, and once broken, it is expensive to rebuild. The book also speaks to leadership in a way that feels timeless. Leadership is not about authority, it's about example. People don't follow titles, they follow consistency. They follow calm under pressure. They follow clarity in chaos. Effective leaders lead themselves first. They manage their emotions. They own their mistakes. They correct course without defensiveness. And because of that, people trust them. Another concept the book emphasizes is that change is painful, but stagnation is worse. Most people resist change not because they can't grow, but because growth threatens identity. Letting go of old habits feels like losing a part of yourself. But the book reminds us that clinging to what no longer serves you is a slow form of self-betrayal. Effective people don't wait until pain forces change. They choose growth deliberately. The book also challenges the idea that success must come at the expense of relationships. It rejects the myth that you have to sacrifice connection to achieve greatness. True effectiveness includes people. It includes empathy. It includes patience. It includes forgiveness. Because a life that wins professionally but fails relationally is incomplete. Another powerful thread running through the book is the idea of self-renewal as a responsibility. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Exhaustion is not proof of importance. Highly effective people understand that rest is strategic. They protect their energy not because they are lazy, but because they are committed to longevity. They read, they reflect, they exercise, they reconnect with purpose. Because effectiveness is not about how hard you can push, it's about how well you can sustain. The book also reframes discipline. Discipline is not punishment, it's self-respect in action. It's choosing long-term alignment over short-term comfort. It's showing up when motivation fades. Effective people don't rely on feelings to guide action. They rely on principles. Another lesson woven throughout the book is that clarity precedes confidence. When you know what matters, doubt loses its grip. Indecision drains energy. Clarity restores it. Effective people take time to think deeply. They plan, they evaluate, they adjust. They don't rush every decision, but they also don't avoid responsibility. The book also exposes the cost of reactive living. Reacting keeps you busy. Responding keeps you intentional. Reactive people feel controlled by life. Responsive people feel grounded. This difference alone changes everything. It also emphasizes that communication is not about persuasion, it's about connection. People resist being managed, but they respond to being understood. Effective people don't force agreement, they build trust first. The book highlights that growth requires humility. You cannot learn if you believe you already know. Effective people remain curious, they ask questions, they seek feedback, they adapt. Another theme is that effectiveness is not static, it's a practice. You don't arrive at effectiveness, you recommit to it daily, through habits, through discipline. The book also reminds us that principles don't guarantee ease. Living with integrity can be uncomfortable. Choosing values over popularity can feel lonely. But effectiveness is not about comfort, it's about meaning. One of the most grounding messages in the book is that you don't need to control everything to live well. You need to control yourself, your effort, your attitude, your choices, and that is always within reach. The book also reinforces that patience is not weakness, it's strength under control. Effective people understand timing. They plant seeds, knowing growth takes time. The book challenges the obsession with outcomes. It reminds us that focusing on principles creates better outcomes naturally. It shows that responsibility is empowering, not burdensome. It highlights that alignment reduces anxiety. When values guide decisions, fear loses its power. It teaches that balance is not about equal time, but intentional focus. It reminds us that small choices shape big futures. It reinforces that character is built when no one is watching. It emphasizes that growth requires patience with yourself. And perhaps most importantly, this book leaves you with a simple but profound realization. Your life is not shaped by what happens to you. It's shaped by what you choose to do next. This book doesn't give you motivation for a day. It gives you a framework for a lifetime. And if you're listening to this right now, it's because you're not satisfied with drifting. You want daily improvement that actually lasts. That's why Daily Upgrade Motivation exists. not to hype you up for a moment, but to help you build a mindset, discipline, and character that compound over time. If you're ready to start designing your life, subscribe now, because effectiveness is built daily, and your next upgrade starts today.